Okay, all praise to BaHaIBar, Shimi Shai. Double honor to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect. Alright, basically, this video was inspired by this scripture, and also, too, what Apostle Tahar has been pushing out as far as, the camps and camp heads and camp leaders, being focused on that task at hand, being focused on the men that you are over, because we're supposed to be watching over souls as different camp heads and different camp leaders. You're supposed to be watching over souls. All right. So now the scripture says this: Proverbs 27:23. Be thou diligent to know thy state of thy flocks, and look well to thy herds. Right. So you're supposed to, and we break this down in English. It says what? Be thou diligent to know the state of thy flocks. Meaning you're supposed to know what's going on with your men. All right. And look well to thy herds. Now, basically, again, that's, basically the scriptures are reiterating itself, but it's a due diligence to know the men that you're around, know the men that you're in front of, and know who you're supposed to correct and how you're supposed to correct those men. But the key word there says what? To be thou diligent to know the state of thy flock, and also to make a reference to what how Apostle Tahar said, you got to be, learn to be an asshole, pretty much. That's being diligent to know the state of thy flocks. You're supposed to be pretty much interrogating brothers, so to speak. Yo, brother, how you doing? Yo, it don't gotta be harsh or nothing like that. But you basically always inquiring of your brothers. That's why it's always good to link up with your brothers, man, because it's easy to know the state of thy flocks, and it's easy for you to communicate with the brethren, because a lot of times a lot of beef happens, so to speak, is when brothers ain't communicating. And a good way to communicate is linking up with brothers. So it's not always, I see this man on Saturday, so I'm always checking him, or I only see him on Saturday, and every time we talk, it's always business, so to speak, and never personal, if you will. So a good way to trim that excess of tension, if you will, or that contention, is to dwell with one another, break bread with one another. All right. So that helps to be thou diligent in knowing the state of your flock and looking well to thy herds. Right. Now I want to go into this scripture in the Hebrew, which we have here, the word yadai, which we see here. The word yadai means to know. All right. When someone is diligent into something, you're always constantly trying to know what's going on. And then the word shows up again. And then it says thayadai. No, sorry. Thadai. Thadai. Now, this tha here as a prefix means thou. All right. So we're saying thou know. Know, thou know, meaning you're supposed to be on top of it. See, being diligent and being knowing, that's a, how would you say? It's a repetitive duty, if you will. When you're diligent upon something, you're constant. You're constantly on something. So it says, know thou know. All right. And then it says what? It says panya, panya. And if you know Hebrew, the word panya, and again, what I explained earlier before in the live stream, the word pa. Typically, when you have the word pa, it represents something to do with the face. All right, so let's see what that word is. All right, the word panya is what? It has the word punyum. All right, the word punyum goes into the word before. All right, and then you have the word here face. All right, but mainly the word here, what we believe it to be, or what through discernment, what we understand what the scripture is trying to convey, is what? Being before. Or here another good word is presence. Having your presence there. Because when your face is on something, your face is there, you're present on the target, man. You're locked in on the target, so to speak. In this case, your face is, you peeping, you snooping. We snooping in righteousness, man. Making sure brothers is on point, man. The scriptures say iron sharpen iron, but if that iron ain't sharp, it ain't gonna be able to sharpen up the iron. So you making sure brothers is sharp. But how? Being in the presence of Akim. You know, keeping your eyes out on Akim. You know, mainly though, you know, the brothers that's in front of you. You know, the younger brothers that's of lower rank than you, man. You know, as Apostle Tahar was basically telling brothers how to sharpen up, man. You know, and the scriptures is basically conveying the same thing, how to sharpen up. All right, let's go back. All right, so we got the word panya, you know, so it says, know thou know, have your presence, what? Taza anka. Now, that's what I was explaining to brothers before. If you understand suffixes, you understand prefixes, it's easier to get the root word, and it's easier to understand what the scripture is conveying. So you have the word, the character ka here, which represents your, right? It represents your, and taza an is what? Flocks. So have your presence on your flock. All right, shayaf. Okay, and this is another thing I want to point out to brothers. You can click this point here and then you can erase that, you know, the vowel points, so to speak, you know, the the little dots that were there. All right, so we're at the word taza anka, which is your. When you read it, it's ka here makes it your. And then, as we know, the word taza'an is what? Flocks, right? And then it says shayaf. Let's go into the word shayaf, which the word look is there. It says set, made, lay, appoint, regard, all right? Which a good word here, a good way to convey the message here is that word lay or to appoint. So let's go back. All right, so the word shayaf, we're going to use the word lay. All right, now this word here is labaka or labka, which I explained in the last word, 2 words over, that the suffix ka represents what? Your. Now we know the word here is what? Lab. Now this is why the Hebrew is so important, because when you read in the scripture in English, it says well to thy herds. Right? Now this word here we know is what? Labka, meaning what? Your mind. So we're going to, the scripture saying what? This is the second part of the scripture. As we read up higher, it says, be thou diligent to know the state of thy flocks and look well to thy herds. Right? Now that word look, we've seen what the word look is, which is, you know, to lay or put yourself in the presence of. What? What are you using to have your presence on your flock or on your herd? Your mind, labka, your mind. So your mind is supposed to be on your flock. Again, is it not written? Is it not written? If you love me, feed thy lambs or feed thy sheep. Because your mind is constantly on the sheep. Your mind is constantly on the flock. That's why Apostle Gabar, every time, a lot of times when he makes videos, he always says he's always thinking of different ways. How can I feed the lamb? How can I feed the sheep? You know? Why? Because obviously the man's mind is on his herd, is on the flock. You know? We're shepherds. All right? But we know the ultimate shepherd is who? Yahweh Shai. All right? Now it says labka. Now, this word here is la'adrayum. La'adrayum. Right? Now, again, knowing these suffixes and knowing these prefixes will get you a long way. La in the beginning, La in the beginning means two. Right? Not the number two, or as in two. Two there or two here. Two. Idara, right, is the root word. Why? How do we know that? Because yum at the end of everything, what ya and the ma together makes things plural. So this right here is the root. Idara. Now it's saying two, whatever this is, and yum making it plural. Now let's find out what that is. Idara. Herd. Idara is herd. Now we saying to your herd, to the herds, right? Or to the flocks, making it plural, right? So this is the second part of the verse. Is saying what? Put yourself in a presence, or lay yourself, or lay your mind to the herds, to the herds, All right. So, hey man, the scriptures is self-explanatory. It goes in further when you go into the Hebrew, man. Because if you just read this for face value, it would just say, well, what do you mean by that? But when you go into the Hebrew, the word lab means what? The word lab means what? The inner man, mind, your will, your heart. Now, that's when we know what's going off, you know? Because sometimes it does say heart, but we know in the spirit, we know through discernment that it's really talking about your mind, the inner man, the mind, understanding, all right? The inner part, all right? So, hey, man, that's pretty much the point. I just want to get that out there real quick. Start going a little more into the Hebrew, you know, because the Hebrew has a stronger force as it is written in Sirach, the wisdom of Solomon. The wisdom of Jesus, if you will. The book of also known as Sirach or Ecclesiasticus. All right. When you read the prologue, it says what? That the things that are written in other languages have not yet the same force when it's written in its original language, man. All right. Hey, but with that, keep your eyes on your flock. Stay diligent towards your flock. You know, keep feeding the flock, keep feeding the lamb, so we get up out of here faster, man. Hey, man, there's a saying in the world too. You're only strong as the chain is only as strong as its lowest link or its weakest link. Because you got the number 1 guy, but then you got the number 10 guy who's always down at the totem pole, so to speak. Right? You know, so basically, we only as strong as that man at the bottom, so to speak. All right? And the scriptures tell you that you're supposed to look more towards him than anybody else. You know, because the scriptures tell you how that man is supposed to be in more honor than any man else. That's in Corinthians, the 12th chapter. You can read that for yourself. You know, again, I don't want to make this too long. All praise to BaHaIBar, Shai, double honor to apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect.